people talk about these rules. These rules. Hey, 60-40, 60 equities, 40 bonds. And it's like, does that number know you? Does the 60-40 number really know you, Randy? Does that think, do you think, it's like back when we did the show, like, can I put you in a medium t-shirt? Would it fit? Like, do I, as a 6'1", 240-pound guy, do I fit in a medium t-shirt? Does everyone get a medium t-shirt? So why in the world would we continue to prescribe to what Wall Street thinks is the right fit for us? They don't understand this. I talk to New York guys all the time. They think that we're all farmers. It's hilarious. They think everyone in the Midwest like milks their own cows. Yet there's this false idea that they think, well, they should be, investing in blah, 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 blah. It's like, you don't understand how they live. You don't get Midwesterners. You don't get how people from Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, you guys don't get it. And when we start breaking down how we actually live and we start thinking about that 60-40 rule, it's like, so you're saying I've worked for 30 years and I need to put over half my life savings in the stock market? And if that was the case recently, you watched your accounts roughly drop 5 to 10%. So you're saying I have $1 million, now I have 900,000 in 7 days? How does that feel? Does that feel like that's aligned with your values, with how you live your life? Because here's the alternative. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I've talked about this on the radio show for 3 years, and it's why we have such a following, Randy. If you had $1 million and you had it in, I think Vanguard is one of the higher money markets right now. It's like 5% or 5 and change. So if you put $1 million in that, you're like, all right, at the end of the year, my wife and I got $60,000 of Social Security, and we got $50,000 of interest from our money market. That's $110,000. And you're saying to yourself, I didn't listen to the 60-40. I just put it, in conservative investments. And I have $110,000. I don't have any house payment. I don't have any college payments for my kids anymore. I don't have any car payments. I have probably 30 or 40,000 more dollars to spend than I did any point in my life. And my financial advisor at Eddie is talking about keeping up with inflation. I need to make sure my money's working for me. Does there seem to be a disconnect there, Randy? Do you feel the void of like hoopla BS in actually how we live our lives? I wrote a book, how, fire your financial advisor, because of this sentiment of them not listening. They're not listening, Randy. They're not listening to us. They're not listening to their clients. $110,000, 0% risk. Those people's accounts didn't drop to 900,000. And guess what? That million's going to work for them again next year. And if you start thinking about your money more practically, like let's just use real numbers in your life versus 60-40 versus Monte Carlo versus their made up lies. The reason they don't want you to do this, they don't get paid for money markets, Randy. It's real hard to justify getting paid 1.5% for you to put your money in a money market. And they don't do tax planning. They don't do legal planning. They don't do anything else. So their whole value proposition is stock guessing and then hoping the market bails them out with returns. And if it doesn't, they just play defense and say, just hang in there, Randy. We'll get them next year. Like, you worked 30 years to lose 10%, of your life savings the first week you retired. Imagine someone that retired 2 weeks ago and was very excited, put all their money in their Eddie Jones or the Raymond James or Merrill Morgan, whatever, Fisher. Ugh. And after a week, you look at your account and you're like, I have 10% less money. I lost $100,000. I've never paid $100,000 for anything other than maybe my house. And you're telling me it's gone in 7 days? Like that doesn't feel right. And people are like, well, what's the alternative? The alternative is to stop listening to Wall Street. Stop listening to these people who are incentivized to scare you about inflation, scare you about cost of living, scare you about everything. You get enough money to make it. I just said, do math. You know what their kryptonite is? A calculator. A simple calculator. I just did it in my head, right? 60,000 of Social Security, 50,000 of, freaking interest. It's 110 grand. You can do a lot of stuff for 110 grand in retirement. Most people's lives are pretty simple and fun. Some traveling, going to the grandkids. It doesn't, Dairy Queen ice cream cones don't cost much. Applebee's Thursdays don't cost much. Going down to Florida for a couple months isn't a fortune. And then when you add these things up and you're like, oh my gosh, and God forbid we spend a little bit of our principal, because that will scare the financial industry. Because if you spend your money, they take a pay cut. If you spend your principal, they take a pay cut because they're charging a percentage. So we continue to beat the drum, Randy. Do plans that work for you. Build plans that work for you in retirement, Randy. Stop listening to 60-40. I don't even, we don't even bring it up. When we come in, we like, how are you different, Greg? You're sitting there, bashing the industry, which I am. Well, simple. We figure out what you spent last year and what you brought in last year. Let's start there. That's a good place to start, right, Randy? Then we project a little bit of inflation, a little bit of healthcare, a little bit of travel, conservative returns, let's call it 5%. Let's see what you have left in 25 years. And if that's a big number, my job's pretty easy. My job's pretty easy because you know what it is? Don't crash the car, Greg. We don't have to make any money, really. Just don't crash it. And I know that's not what people want to hear. Like, Greg, aren't you supposed to make money? No, I'm not supposed to make money. That is actually not my job. My job is to make sure you can do everything you want in retirement. Everything you want in retirement. My job is to make sure that happens.